Extra elements, let's go. Okay, so the two kind of ideas I want to blend this vest with are this red vest here that we've been working off so far and how it's fastened together over here. Okay, so I like the way these clasps kind of come round and the black and the deliberate belts and everything like that. You know that I'm a big fan of belts. Okay, nothing kinky, I promise, that's not where it's going. But for this character design here, belts seem to be the thing, so that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and carry on in that idea there. One thing I do want to change is I do like how much lower this sits here, and I do want to have those kind of belts coming across, so it's going to be a bit of a halfway house here. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, mask off quite a bit of the character mesh here just to kind of pull that down there and basically give it the look that it has been folded over a much larger area than it at first appears to be. And I'll make sure I mask all of that off just now as I adjust the size of this somewhat. Okay, let's bring it out a bit more. Actually, I think I will undo that. I'll use the move tool. I'll mask all these areas off as well. I don't want to affect anything except this little part here. There we go. So I do want to kind of... I am pulling on something else over there. What is that? I'm pulling on this edge. Let's isolate that and we'll say... this inside line here. We'll have to mask all that off as well. So just doing a selection box. Okay. And now we should be free to pull. Try and keep its definition. And you've guessed it already, but we will have to Z remesh this again now that we've changed this. Okay. Let's just undo all the mask and we'll kind of push this up a bit. There we go. Get it to feature a bit more prominently, and you can see there that it's caused quite a chaotic disturbance down there. That's fine. That's what we knew we were eventually going to probably have issues similar to that. If not intentional, then unintentional, but either way, we have those issues in play at the moment, so we can go over to our ZBrush. We'll say the same number of polys. We do want to keep creases, so let's go ahead and put keep creases on with keep groups, and let's go ahead and we'll Z remesh that. And that should just fix the kind of creasing of the polygons down there, which is obviously not ideal. There we go. Okay, that's solved that out. Right, so our belts are going to be pretty much around here somewhere. Maybe we can go for 3. Or maybe even have one up here. I don't know. We can see about that a little bit later on. Okay. Right. So, in the meantime now, let's go ahead and we will change some of the lining here. We did put this in the early days, but we have lost it now since we have Z remeshed it almost completely. I don't know how many times now. But it's all part of the process. So if you remember, let's solo it out. We'll get one kind of trim line. We do need to subdivide it quite a bit, it seems. We're going to get one trim line going down the middle of the vest, like that. Okay, let's just check that's in the right place. Good. And I want another trim line, as you can see in the concept art there, almost just underneath where the collar ends there. I just want that to kind of follow the line of her breasts, and then just kind of come down and essentially point towards the point there. So if I want to go to that point, I think I've got to come over a bit more. And then there we go. There's a straight line path to that point there. Okay, let's add that in. Let's check how that looks. Yeah, that looks okay. Cool. And we'll do the same for the other side. We'll start around where the tip of the collar is there, and we'll go there and we'll try and end up down here. So let's match these two lines up together. I want it to match in roughly the same place, so somewhere around up here actually. So slightly off, but that's fine. Oops, just be careful of this happening here. It can happen, so just mask it off. We don't want to pull on the edge geometry too much. Does that look alright? Yeah, it does. Looks okay. Looks okay. Cool. And then now we'll do the same for the side here. So again, it's pulling on that edge there. Okay. Pulling on that edge there too. It will naturally always want to do that anyway, so don't be too concerned about it. And then the back here, we can activate symmetry, and we'll just do one here down the back. And remember, sometimes the other side doesn't always carry through, so you will have to just go to the other side and just do a pass if it didn't quite work out. And there we go. Okay. So that's a cool kind of look to it. We can actually kind of add some creases to that as well now that we've got them defined. But let's talk belts. Let's talk belts, shall we? So we want this kind of... Oh, hello, what's going on here? That is something that was... To quote Dr. Ethan Kleiner. Is it Ethan Kleiner? No. Is it Ethan? I might be mixing up the YouTuber now. Dr. Kleiner from Half-Life. That was very much unforeseen consequences there. ZBrush. I thought that the collar was all fixed now, but it seems that it's still... Isaac Kleiner, that's his name. Still wants to have issue with this particular side of the collar, which is not helpful. Not helpful. We can fix it with the moved brush, and we will have to do some minor inflation. Just to kind of bring that back to normal, really. But unfortunately, the kind of polys there now are stretched there, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's certainly unideal, which is very frustrating. ZBrush, that's not very nice. But anyway, I'm glad it's happened because I've shown you now how you can remedy that. What was I going to do? I was going to do some straps. Right, so we got straps here. I assume this strap goes all the way around the neck, so let's go ahead and we'll do that. We'll go to our instant mesh brushes, which are here. We'll do the IMM curve brushes, and I'm just going to go for a strap. And we can just see what that looks like if we drag it across. Actually, sorry, it doesn't work. We're going to have to duplicate this subtool because this doesn't like, these IMM brushes never like working on things of multiple subdivisions. Now, you can freeze subdivision levels, but I've found that sometimes when you unfreeze those subdivision levels, there can be unforeseen consequences. So let's just create a copy and we'll delete all the subdivision history on the copy, and then we can just not worry about it. So now if we draw that there, we can see we've got a strap. You can try different kinds of straps, like a wider strap if you like. The wider strap is the scale I'm sort of used to, so I think I will elect to use a wider strap just because I know the nature of the beast of the wider strap. So I'm going to draw one over here. And if you can, of course you can't draw all the way around, but you can kind of see how it, just if you hover your mouse it continues. You can just keep drawing it around like that. And yes, it has gone into the mesh, but if you just click on any part there, you can see that it kind of wakes up and goes, oh yeah, we're intersecting a mesh a little bit, that's not a good thing, and it can just kind of adjust itself. It's not the best at knowing exactly where that intersection's happening and where it's kind of cutting in or that clipping, but of course you can tweak it around. Once you're happy with the general formation of it, you can alt click on it and then that stops it. That basically says it's complete. And now you can use your move brush and you can make some deliberate adjustments with this here. So it's a belt, or it's a strap that goes around the collar. So for me, if it kind of hovers over the collar's mesh a little bit, that's not going to be a problem. I feel like that's somewhat realistic because it's not always tied down in the same, it's not tied down tightly all the way around. So that's fine if it appears to be kind of off the mesh a little bit in some areas. But I'm basically going to end it around there somewhere. Okay, just make sure it's the right width and thickness because to change that will be harder than it's worth. if you want to change it later. And I've got this kind of little strap over here. That looks cool. Let's go ahead and we'll do that too. So let's go and get a not the standard brush, this wide strap brush, and let's see what size we might like. We might want a wider size. A wider size could be cool, although that hasn't understood the operation there, and we do have to carry it on and over. This might be tricky. There we go. It didn't quite understand what we wanted, so let's undo that. Let's start it off from over here. You can see that the bigger the strap, the harder it is to draw the geometry around it. And okay, let's tell it to recognize this area here, and we've got more than we've wanted, so we're gonna have to try and wrestle with this beast a little bit and put it in the correct spots. Turn soloing off. You can see there that it's recognizing. There we go. And we have to solo it out again because I think it's interacting with the hair. But I could be wrong on that. There we go. It just seems to find the right spot, but then it gets a bit confused. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have to kind of meet it halfway a little bit. Let's just hang it over like that. Okay, we'll leave it like that, and what we'll do is we'll have to use the move tool to do the rest of the work for us. So let's alt click on the corners there. Okay, and now we will just move it manually. And with a big move brush size, you're not going to shrink the size of the mesh too much. Just be careful. If you do start to see it kind of shrinking too much, you will have to be aware of that. But unfortunately, the strap brush itself couldn't quite understand what we wanted with this part here. Okay, try to keep it as rigid as possible and not too curvy-worvy like it's starting to happen over here. Again, a bigger bigger brush size always helps with that, and we do want to have it kind of tuck in under there. Tuck in under that one. There we go. And now we can push that out a bit more. There we go. Okay, and you can just let it hang loose on the inside there, because we can figure out where that will go later. That will likely just be lost in the ruffled collar area there. So let's just mask off that part that we can see. And then we'll just move the rest of it over here somewhere. Soften that mask a little bit. And just kind of move it there. What's that look like now? Yeah, that's somewhat okay. That's not too bad. Move topological. Let's mask that out. There we go. You can use the smooth brush. Just be careful how strong that move brush is. Sorry, the smooth brush, because it can just demolish your thickness a bit like that. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to go through that ordeal again. I'm just going to duplicate that over to the other side, so which we can now do. So what I said before about working on a clone, let's just grab a normal brush and go to polyframe, and essentially let's go ahead and we will first of all go to modify topology. We'll weld points. That's important, and then we go to polygroups and do autogroups. Now let me just show you what happens if I didn't weld those points. If I just hit autogroups without welding those points, sometimes those different sections will not be welded together and they'll actually be treated as separate pieces. So just always, if you're doing anything like that and it's kind of divided into different polygroups, it could indicate that they're not welded together. So just make sure that the points are welded together, and go to polygroups and autogroups. Of course, when I wanted to show you that in effect, it didn't work this time, but I have had it happen before. Okay, so we're just going to hide the vest. We're just interested in the straps. Go to geometry, modify topology, delete the hidden stuff, go back to our subtool, and there's our vest from last time. There we go. Okay, so what we can do now is we can duplicate that. We've got two sets of this now, and we can actually just go down to deformation, and we can mirror that in the, I believe it's X that we want to mirror it in. That didn't seem to work, so let's just have a look at that. What's going on there? Mirror in X. Ah, there we go. Maybe I pressed polished instead, so it's mirrored it all the way over there. We are going to have to use the move gizmo and just kind of move it back, and you can see it's sort of moved it into the right place. We'll unlock that, move it a bit over what we're actually looking at, and yeah, it's kind of got it. We can just sort of adjust it a little bit. Don't worry about the other strap that's there. We already have one that goes all the way around, so just focus on this small strap that kind of clips over the collar. Once you're happy with the position, we can solo it out, and we just want this one. Okay, that's the only one we're interested in, so isolate it, delete hidden the other stuff, bring it back, and now you can happily adjust this one as you like. Okay, so the edges of this different collar edges are not the same, so you will have to do some minor adjustments, but it does save us going through that weird ordeal that we had to the first time we created this. It's just gone ahead now and done that for us nicely. Okay, wonderful. Let's take off polyframe. There we go. Okay, so there's our kind of collars there. That's pretty cool. Alright, fantastic. Okay, we have a bit more time. We could just create some these straps down here, so let's duplicate this once again. And now we will just go to the lower subdivision, delete that, solo it out, and we just want to create those straps going across there. So let's increase the size of the brush, find a size you like. That looks a good size actually, that was unintentional. Maybe I'll just do it at an absolute value of 40. I'm going to make them longer than I think they ought to be, just in case I want to bring them round to the other side. I think that is long enough. I'm happy with that. Okay, and then just create, I'll try and create a few more, 2 more. There we go. Fabulous. Check our polygroups, weld the points, autogroups. We don't want this stuff, we do want that stuff. Geometry, delete hidden, go back to our subtool, and activate the vest that we were working on. There we go, and now we've got straps there that we can move around to our liking. Can position them however we want. And there we go. So let's maybe move that a bit further down. Okay, and obviously we'll have to figure out how that works and how it's kind of strapped in at the moment, but obviously these do have to kind of come into the vest. So let's push this in. Make it appear it's coming out the vest. There we go. And you can use a standard brush to raise any kind of inserted surface there. You could probably try just using the standard brush on this, but yeah, that does give some okay results. Oops. There we go. Okay, and just to help sell that idea a little bit, we have the subdivision count to play with it now. We can just use a damn standard brush and we can just almost, I guess, paint in some areas there where the straps would just recess into. Like so. We haven't got enough definition to exactly outline where that is, but we can just pencil them in there for now. Okay, and there we go. Our vest is starting to look a little bit more unique, a little less generic, which is always good. Always good. Okay, fantastic.